I get a Facebook message.
We went from just dating to almost breaking up to being like, okay, when are we getting married? I was panicking. Do you want to be in this relationship?
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. I'm Bethany, and today I'm going to be talking about how I met my husband and just our relationship story. Yeah, how we fell in love. So, this all started back in 2019. So, let's go back to 2019. I was actually living overseas at the time. I was living in Los Angeles. I'd been there for a year, but unfortunately my visa was expiring and I was forced to come back to Melbourne, which is where I'm originally from. I was so upset about this. I really didn't want to come back. In fact, I just was thinking, okay, I'll come back, sort out another visa and go back as soon as I can. So that was the plan. Let me just preface by saying I had never had a boyfriend. I was at the time 23 years old. I had not even really dated anyone either. Like, I'd gone on a few dates, but I'd never had a relationship. I'd never been in a relationship before. It wasn't really on my mind at this point because I was thinking I want to end up, back in California. So that's where I'll probably meet somebody and etc, etc. Well, how things can change so quickly. It's future Bethany just jumping in because this story needs to be made a bit more concise. So long story short, yes, I came back to Melbourne, and then through a series of just fun events, I won't say coincidence because I don't believe it was, but basically I became friends with somebody. This person then invited me to a church service, and at that church service is when my husband saw me, noticed me, and that's kind of where everything started. But the thing is, there's this whole story that kind of is a pre-story to my first, I guess, meeting my husband. And that's all for Anthony. That's my husband's story. So I'm gonna actually leave this here and jump to when I first would say I met my husband. And if you want to hear Anthony's side, which I think is just so funny, then give this video a thumbs up, and I think if we get to 100 thumbs up, Anthony will make a video with his side of things, which is just so fun. So anyway, we're gonna skip forward a little bit to when I first met my husband. Here we go. Oh, and the last thing you need to know before we jump in is that I went to his church service, and then I also went to some other events for young adults. So I was kind of around a little bit at this church. Here we go. I get a Facebook message from someone called Anthony. I was kind of trying to register who it was. Profile picture was not familiar at all. So I got a message. I'll pop it up here. So this was the 9th of June 2019. And so immediately I was kind of like, oh, number one, a boy has messaged me, what's his motive here? And secondly, who the heck is this?
Okay, I literally just drove somewhere else out of the house because the construction was driving me crazy and it was not going away.
Stop.
So this is where we are. This is where we're at. I'm just in the car. I'd rather face the public than all the noises. Okay, so back to the story. So we ended up messaging back and forth, these long messages, really just getting to know each other, which was really nice because I feel like it's not often that you get to talk to someone and get to know them, not really knowing what they look like and having that kind of pressure of being in person. I guess a lot of people do online dates, so that's kind of what I'm describing. But you know what they look like. That's what I mean. Anyway, so we ended up messaging from the 9th of June, from that first message, to the 17th of June. A bit over a week. In that time, I think like towards the end of that, we did see each other again at another young adults night. And it was kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm actually going to see this person and actually take in what they look like and who they are. So that was kind of surreal. I just remember I got there earlier than him, so then I was just chatting to other people, and then I clocked straight away when he walked in and he came over to us and said hi to everybody. And then that was the only time though that we saw each other in person while we had been messaging and getting to know each other. So then fast forward to 17th of June. So at this point I'm getting a bit over the messaging and I'm thinking, okay, this guy either needs to ask me out for real or I'm done messaging. Like I don't want to just be messaging someone, you know, back and forth. And then that next day he messaged me and asked me out for coffee, to get coffee or tea, because I think I must have said that I don't drink coffee and I hate it. From there we had a little coffee date. That was really fun. We talked for a few hours. Yeah, like I just remember really opening up to him about things that were going on in my life and about like faith and just, so it didn't really feel like a first date because we'd already been chatting and I feel like I'd already learned quite a lot about him and his family. And after we'd finished at this cafe, we went and had a walk. I just remember thinking like, oh, like I feel really comfortable and safe and like this could be someone I potentially could marry. Like this is the kind of person this could be it. So then I went home. I think I called one of my close friends and basically told her, yeah, I'm probably gonna marry him. Which is just wild, especially when you hear the rest of the story, but that was kind of that. So then we had our first official date and we went bowling, walked around the city and got Starbucks. Yes, so we had this awesome date. It was really nice and I think it was the first time I like kind of held his arm and held his hand, which I hadn't done with anyone before. I'd never done that before, so it was all like really new and exciting. And so something I want to say is that I'll keep this kind of brief because I know this is going to be a longer video already. So something that I did like while I was starting to date Anthony was I would pray before each kind of interaction or date for like a specific thing, and then each time that prayer was answered. Like each time what I asked for happened. So that was kind of a sign to me that like we were on the right track, that this was a good person I could trust, and just that kind of God was like, yeah, keep going, you know, keep going, keep opening up. This is all good. So I'll just share a couple of those things. So the first one was when I just was going to see him again face to face at that young adults night, after we'd already been messaging. And I just prayed for the opportunity to talk more in person, to be able to like actually talk and chat that night when I knew there'd be a lot of people there. And so that actually ended up happening. We ended up being able to sit next to each other. We basically just talked to each other for ages. I think people were starting to tell like something was going on because it was very sus, the way we were just talking to each other in our own little bubble. And then the other thing was before our first big date, like the one in the city, the bowling date, I just prayed that I would be relaxed and wouldn't feel like pressure or anything for the date, and that we would just have fun. Like it would just be about having fun and that's it. Yeah, and that really did happen. Like I was just myself. I was really relaxed and just had fun, and I just wasn't thinking about, oh, is this the person I'm gonna marry? Like, you know, oh, am I giving off the right impression? Like none of that silly stuff, which gets in the way, I think. And there was a few other things which I can't remember, but for me that did like give me some confirmation and a lot of peace about the relationship, kind of dating going forward. So that was, yeah, really nice and something I just wanted to share, like, because if you're starting to date someone and you're like a believer and you know, pray for things like that. Pray for specific things, especially if you haven't ever dated anyone before like me and you're nervous and like everything you do feels like such a big deal because you've never done it before. That's just my little tip for you. Then things get more complicated. So basically We were then dating for about 3 months and things were going pretty well. We're having fun and getting to know each other better. And then we both ended up having overseas trips that were already planned before we started dating. So Anthony had a trip planned to Japan for 7 weeks, and I had a trip planned for my best friend's wedding back in Los Angeles, and I was going to be away for 4 weeks. They kind of also crossed over, so I think he left first and was away a couple weeks before I left, and then he got back a week or so before I did. So overall there was probably at least 2 months or more where we didn't see each other, and we'd been dating for 3 months. There were a lot of challenges that came up during that time. I'll call it long distance, but I know many people do years, a lot longer of long distance, so I'm not trying to make it dramatic, but it was our experience of long distance. Basically, this trip was really defining for us. We went from just kind of dating to almost breaking up to being like, okay, when are we getting married? Such a roller coaster within just a couple months. So before he left, we had this kind of final date, and on this little date we drove out somewhere, like we were out in nature, it was nice. It was the first time that I told him out loud, I think I want to marry you one day. But I was really scared. I think I said that, like, I do really want to marry you one day, but I'm also really scared. And I said, God himself will have to come down and tell me that, you know, speak to me himself for me to get married to you, for me to get engaged to you. Because for me, it was like, it's so serious, it's such a serious thing, marriage. So that was a big conversation. That was a really vulnerable conversation. I don't remember what he said, but I knew that, look, let's be real, I knew already that he was really into me. Otherwise I wouldn't have said that. Like, he was very intentional from the start, so I wasn't just some crazy girl being like, oh, we've dated a few months, I want to marry you. It wasn't like that. It was like, I already knew that he had a pretty good idea that I was the kind of girl he wanted to marry. Obviously we needed to like keep getting to each other. But anyway, so let me just put that out there. Okay, so we're apart. At this time, I just remember starting to really doubt what I was doing, what we were doing. Honestly, looking back, I was just freaking out. I had never gotten this far into like a relationship. Things were getting really real. I'd met his family and I was panicking. And so I think I withdrew a bit from him, and he then felt that and was like hurt, and I just didn't really know what to do. And then there was a point, there was a week in this time where we were apart, where I was house sitting. So I was somewhere all by myself in this big house, and I was so anxious, totally consumed by my thoughts about, you know, what if we break up? How will that affect this? How, you know, what will people think? Just all these things, that I was physically sick. I could have also had food poisoning at the time. I think I did have some food poisoning, but it felt really like brought up by the fact that I was so anxious. So I was just so sick. I was really sick. And I didn't know how to be honest with him either. I was so scared of saying the wrong thing, of hurting his feelings, that I just bottled it up. I talked to like one of my close friends and just decided, yeah, I needed to be quite honest with him. We must have had a call or a conversation, and I can't tell you what I said or what he said. I can't tell you, but yeah, I honestly just have no recollection. I've kind of blocked it out of my memory because I can't believe that it was ever like that. Like, just the relationship we have now. So emotional. Is it emotions or is it just the pregnancy hormones? Anyway, basically, yeah, things were a little more rocky, but we did make some breakthroughs in being more honest and open, I think, about just, yeah, for example, I would always, when we'd schedule a call or a FaceTime, I would kind of make sure, you know, I was in a good spot, you know, I was good, you know, whereas like there was a time when I was just crying and upset and we were supposed to call, and I just remember thinking, okay, I just got to be real. And so I just answered, and knew that he would know I was upset and ask me why, and we'd have to talk about some things. But I did that. I took that leap for me, which was a big step. And yeah, we continued to talk. And I think he must have asked me at one point, do you want to be in this relationship? Like, do you still want to continue? And I said yes, because I didn't have a good reason. Like, why not? Like, I didn't have a good reason. I didn't want to sabotage something that I think I knew deep down was good and had a future. So I said yes, but I was honest, I think, about, you know, thoughts I was having or concerns. And then after that, I think things really, like, got better. I honestly haven't thought about any of this in so long, and I just can't believe how our relationship went from, like, that to, like, what it is now. It's just amazing, and I'm just so thankful. And clearly emotional. So yes, at this point now, I went on my trip. We were in a much better place. What also really helped me in this season was the fact that I was there for my best friend's wedding. She was younger than me as well. And there was like all these other friends that I knew who either had gotten married or were engaged or, you know, heading that way. So it really helped me to see all these other people my age having these beautiful relationships, and like it was really encouraging. Like, I just remember on the wedding day and leading up to her wedding, I was thinking, I just want to marry this guy. Like, why am I so afraid? I just want to marry him. Like, he is a great guy. I think it's meant to be. And I even told people there who obviously didn't know Anthony, I would just say, oh yeah, I'm just excited to go home now and marry my boyfriend and, you know, do this. Like, I just was so confident. I don't know where it came from, but I think God was giving me the peace and, like, just surrounding me with people that I needed to be around to, like, come to that conclusion. So then fast forward to November 2019, he's already back in Melbourne. I've just gotten back from my trip and we continued dating, and like literally within a few days of me getting back from this trip, we went for this drive on this date, and I think I brought it up and I was like, hey, so like, when are we getting married? And then we decided to like both write down separately kind of the timeline we imagined. So like when we thought we'd get engaged and then when we thought we'd get married. We revealed it to each other. I basically had said married December 2020 and he had said married like March 2021 or Feb, something like that. Spoiler alert, we ended up getting married in February 2021. And that was basically it. We both knew we're gonna get married. Yeah, things just got better and better. Like, obviously there was still challenges and getting to know each other and stuff, but literally a few months later, it's 2020 and we all know what happened. COVID hit. So COVID brought a lot of challenges. I don't want to delve into it because it was just not a great time for anyone. So I knew we were going to get engaged at some point during that year. And what ended up happening was he obviously got a ring, but I didn't know if he'd got it yet. I was kind of getting impatient. I was like, I just want to get engaged. I want to know this is real. This is really happening. You know, I want that confidence to know that he wants to marry me and he's got the ring and he's going to propose to me. But we were in lockdown after lockdown after lockdown. Melbourne had, you know, some of the strictest rules in the world. So it made it hard. And it made it hard to see each other as well. There were a lot of like difficult moments where we were trying to figure out what we could do, if we could legally do this, see each other at this point. Or the worst part was like there was literally restrictions in where we thought we wouldn't be able to hug. Like we literally were like, we're only going to be able to meet up to go for a walk like 5 feet apart. And we did that once, and then I think we found out no, like couples, there's some exemptions. But it was just awful. It was awful and really difficult to be dating. Sorry, I didn't know I was going to give my whole life story. I thought this was going to be just a simple little dating video. So then fast forward to June 2020, and there is like this window opened up where restrictions have lifted, and this is when we get engaged. I had no idea it was coming, no idea it was happening, but it was like just such a good surprise. So we got engaged at some botanical gardens, and I was told it was for like a belated Mother's Day lunch for his mum. Turned out they weren't even there. It was like, yeah. So we got engaged there in June 2020, and yeah, it was amazing. I felt like so much assurance and peace from that time, because it was like, I've chosen now, like I've made the choice to marry this person, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to have healthy engagement and a healthy marriage and life together. So that was great for me to have that. I think it was great for him too. He was pretty stoked. So then we obviously had to plan a wedding during COVID, which I'm not going to go into, but it wasn't great. But I also wasn't working a lot because of COVID, so I did have a lot of time to do things on my own. And then we finally got married in February 2021. So overall, we dated for just under a year, we're engaged for 8 months, and now we've been married for just over 2 years. Yeah. And of course we have a baby on the way. Who's coming in July. So it's honestly so surreal. Even though there's like pain and struggle in our story, it does make me so emotional looking back, and just so grateful, so thankful to God for the way that He orchestrated things, for giving me the confidence to pursue the relationship even though I was scared, for giving Him the confidence to like not see all my red flags and go, maybe she's too difficult, like maybe that's too hard. And like just allowing us to fall in love and start our lives together and start a family. I hope you enjoyed hearing my story, our story. I hope it encourages you if you're someone who is single and has like such a desire to get married. I honestly thought I was going to be single forever at one point, which I know is dramatic because I was literally 23 when I met my husband. But yeah, I just think everyone's story is so beautiful. I love hearing love stories and just stories of how people met and got married. I love watching videos about that. So yeah, if you are desiring a relationship and just struggling, leave a comment or let me know, and I will be praying for you. And just know that you are like worthy of so much love, and you're already so loved. So with that said, I will finish this here. Thank you so much for watching today. Hope you enjoyed and the distractions weren't too much. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for just following along with my content, and give this video a thumbs up, turn on the notification bell, and I'll see you in my next video. Love you lots, bye!